These answers to these questions are like how I would answer them and like what works for me and what makes me feel comfortable, and that could be different for anybody. So what happens if you're going unassisted and you end up tearing? Well, first it's important to understand that tearing is pretty rare when you're going unassisted, just because you are able to listen to your body more. But it does happen, and if it does happen, you have a couple of options. You can do nothing. You can use seaweed and just sit in bed with your legs crossed, and that will help heal really fast. And if you're really uncomfortable and not feeling like you're healing correctly, you can always go into the hospital to get stitched up. It's just going to depend with what you're most comfortable with. Let's see. What if you go unassisted and you end up hemorrhaging? So if you end up hemorrhaging, there are tinctures you can take to help with contracting your uterus, and there's ones you can take before your placenta comes out to help expel it, and then there's ones you can take afterwards to help your uterus contract and control the bleeding. If those aren't working and you're starting to feel gross, like if there's not just a lot of blood, you're actually feeling really bad, then you can call an ambulance and go in too, which is something I would do if I felt like I needed to. Birthing a posterior baby, so a sunny side up baby as most people call it. Yeah. Sunny side up babies come out just fine. It's just going to be more uncomfortable, and it can make your labor a little bit longer, but they will come out. There's things you can do to get them to flip into a better position. Certain positions you can get into. You can go onto the Spinning Babies website, and they have tons of information there. I talk about it, but then the video would be like an hour long. What additional kind of prep do you need for an unassisted birth versus an assisted home birth? Nothing really. I mean, I got my birth kit, which is all the same stuff I would have gotten with the midwife. I'd say the only thing I did different was make sure I go in to get confirmation of pregnancy and the paperwork I needed for the birth certificate beforehand so that I knew what I needed. Did you do your own prenatal care? I did do my own prenatal care. With my prenatal care, it was kind of all over the place. I had this big idea of doing, measurements and weighing myself and checking the baby's heartbeat and my blood pressure like every month or whatever, like you would in a normal prenatal schedule, but I just never really felt the need to. I mostly just went off of how I was feeling, and if one day I felt like something was a little off, I'd check, and if I felt good, I didn't really pay attention to it that much. What if you get dehydrated and you're too weak to drink anything? Well, hopefully you don't let yourself get to that point and you're upping fluids. Important to have someone there to remind you to take sips of water. If you are having an assisted home birth with a midwife, most of them will carry IV fluids so they can hook you up to that if you want to. If you're unassisted, I guess, and get really, really, really dehydrated and honestly can't swallow any water, I guess you're gonna go in. But I don't see that ever being an issue. What if baby turns at an unfavorable or problematic angle? I'm guessing this means like breech, which to me is not a problem. They just come out. The only problematic angle I could see is transverse, because babies can't come out sideways. Because it just doesn't work. If that were to happen, you'd go into the hospital and end up having a C-section probably. Some babies do flip in labor, so that's something that you can test out. Do you monitor your baby's heartbeat during birth? With my assisted home births, we did with a Doppler. We checked the heartbeat every hour or so. With this one, I'm choosing not to. I could if I had a Doppler, but I just don't really feel the need to, and that's just personal for me. If I chose to, because this question also wants to know what would happen if the baby's heartbeat dropped really low. If if the baby's heartbeat was dropping low and not coming back up, then, well, I'd probably try changing positions to see if there's compression happening that is affecting the baby, and if it's still not coming back up, then go with my intuition. And if it's saying that we need to go in, then go in, and if it's saying that things are fine, then we push on. But again, that's more of like a personal one of however you feel comfortable. Is there restrictions on how far away you can be from a hospital to have a home birth? No, there's not. If you were like an hour away from a hospital and having one nearby was important to you, then obviously you wouldn't want to stay home, because if you're uncomfortable, that can stall labor. What happens if baby needs assistance right away? I'm actually not really sure how to answer this question, because I need something more specific, like.
So, like if the baby isn't breathing or whatever.
I guess if baby isn't breathing at all, like they're completely unresponsive, white, whatever, we have looked up how to do neonatal resuscitation. So we would probably start that and call an ambulance. I think a lot of times in the hospitals, we think babies need more assistance than they do. Like they'll be born blue and not breathing, and that's not necessarily an emergency. That's just, they might need a moment to adjust to outside life, and that's common. Unfortunately, in the hospitals, it is looked at as an emergency, and baby's cord is quickly cut and yanked away from mom, and which
cord gives
oxygen. Your cord is supplying oxygen. So, do you have a specific position you plan to give birth in? Every time I picture this birth, I picture it squatting, but I did that last time too, and I also didn't squat, so I don't really care as long as it comes out. My first one was in a reclined position, kind of like the typical hospital style, and I pushed for 2 hours almost, so I'll never do that again. I did hands and knees with Caspian, and he was born in under 15 minutes, so that was kind of an intense position to push in those. Kind of want to avoid that too, because he came up fast, but I do really want to squat. So when I picture it, I always picture Cameron sitting on the bed or couch or ball or chair or whatever, and then I'll be like between his legs basically with his arms under me, supporting me in the squat. I always picture it like that. It hasn't happened yet, but we'll see. That would be a good position for Emery too, because she wants to catch the baby, so I can actually help her. You always hear about tearing or excess bleeding and needing emergency surgery. My question is, are there ways to prevent those or lessen the odds of that happening? Extra steps you can take to avoid tearing? Just listening to your body, going slow, actually waiting for the need to push. You're going to significantly lessen tears if you're pushing only when your body tells you to, or waiting for fetal ejection reflex. Not everyone experiences that feeling, so I can't say just wait for that. But no coached pushing for sure.
Just listen to your body
and going slow. I know that it's like a really intense part, so we all want to just shove the baby out as fast as possible, but the slower you can go and the more controlled you can do it, you're going to give yourself time to stretch and actually be able to open properly so that you're not tearing. So you can do warm compresses on your perineum, which I've never really felt like I wanted. Some people do massage beforehand to stretch it. I don't. I've never torn though, so it's worked out for me, I guess. How do you deal with a toddler while you are laboring? With Caspian, I guess, Emery was just under 2, and she hung out upstairs the whole time and played games and watched movies with an older girl that she really liked and enjoyed it. She was free to come downstairs and see me whenever she wanted. And the other part of this question is, how do you explain it? How do you explain it to Emery to keep her from being worried because you're hurting. I have a very empathetic toddler. When I'm hurting because of baby, she gets worried. I've just always been really open with Emery about birth, and we watch birth videos together, so she knows and she understands that it's painful, but that it's an okay pain. So, she's just really good. Caspian, I think, will be fine with it too. And he's watched birth videos. He doesn't really care as much. He'll just yell baby. I think just letting them, like, not having any expectations on how they're going to handle things is going to help you in the long run. Because there's really no way of telling. Emery's really sensitive too, so I was worried that she would freak out seeing me in pain, but she didn't. She was sweet. She just rubbed my hair.
Oh God.
Emery,